Hello, my name is Dàibhidh Stiùbhard and this is lesson 2 in a 6-part free traditional singing course sponsored by Gasyard Fela. This second lesson is going to deal with a slower song, and the song that we're going to be singing in this is Droighnean Donn, the English translation of Droighnean Donn, the brown thorn bush. In the talk about section we're going to be talking about ornamentation and archives. Hopefully you don't find it too challenging, but just challenging enough to keep it interesting for you. But enjoy. See you on the other side of it. Oh, late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man. And she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. They'll go rovin all the day till the night time comes on. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. Last fairin day, oh, she got a present from her handsome young man, and 20 sweet kisses from her own darlin John. She said, I'd rather have my true love for to roam, sport and play than all of the gold or silver by the land or the sea. So come all of ye young and tender fair ones, I'd say get married in time to some lovely young maiden who will keep up your prime. Let confusion consume them who say you're not true, and in green grows and valleys you'll go wandering through. Now, that song might seem quite tricky to some listeners, and to a certain extent it is, if you think it is. It's like ornamentation. That's the only thing that's making people probably think that it's tricky, the ornamentation on it. And it's honestly not tricky at all. But because people might think it's a wee bit trickier, we're just going to go over the first section of it and break that down a lot more than we did in the previous one, just so that we can talk about what's happening with the ornamentation and get to grips with the melody a bit more. Again, the lyrics are posted underneath this if you want to look at the lyrics and copy those down. Alternatively, you can private message me with your email address and I can send you a copy of what I've got below as well, of the lyrics and all the references, links and things like that. There's 3 verses in this song, and what makes it so long is just the ornamentation. So we'll just go straight into it. The first section: of late, oh she's been captivated by her handsome young man. We'll take that. Of late. And how do you break that down? Of late. Simple. Just strip it way back. So we'll do it that way. Of late. Oh, she's been. So sing that with me. Of late. Oh, she's been. And then again. Of late. Oh, she's been captivated by. And then with me. Captivated by. So we'll sing that first section. Of late, oh she's been captivated by her handsome young man. Her handsome young man. Her handsome young man. Her handsome young man. Then that full sentence together. Of late, oh she's been captivated by her handsome young man. We've got the first line, a very stripped back first line, and truth, yes, but still very good. So we'll try that one more time, the sentence all together. Of late, oh she's been captivated by her handsome young man. Very good. Of late, oh she's been captivated by her handsome young man. And the next line, so we'll take, and she's daily. And she's daily. Sing that with me. And she's daily. One more time. And she's daily. And next line, complaining for. Complaining for. And all together. Complaining for. And one more time. Complaining for. All that together then. And she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. Her own darlin John. And all together. Her own darlin John. And one more time. Her own darlin John. If you notice on those notes a curve on it, we curveball. So ornamentation can look a wee bit different sometimes. It can be the but it can also be the so it can be static and it can be flowing like that. For her own darlin John. So everybody sing that with me. for her own darlin John. So we'll sing that all together. And she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. And one more time. And she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. We'll sing what we've got so far. So, first two lines. Of late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man, and she's daily complaining for her own darling John. So one more time. Of late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man, and she's daily complaining for her own darling John. Very good. So what I would do here is I would flip back over that a couple of times, pause the video and go back a couple of seconds and just go over that two phrases together, and then we'll go on to this next line. They'll go roving all the day till the night comes on, till the night time comes on. They'll go roving. Sing that with me. They'll go roving. And one more time. They'll go roving. And one more time. They'll go roving. In their next part, all the day. All the day. And all together. All the day. One more time. All the day. And we'll put that first part and second part together. So I'll sing it and then sing it with me. They'll go roving all the day. And then sing it with me. They'll go roving all the day. Then till the night time comes on. Till the night time comes on. Sing that with me. Till the night time comes on. One more time. Till the night time comes on. We'll do that line all together. So I'll sing it through, and then I want you to sing it through with me twice again like we've been doing. So they'll go roving all the day till the night time comes on. And then all together with me. They'll go roving all the day till the night time comes on. Try and get that high note as best you can in the roving. Yeah, just try and get it as best you can. Nobody's watching you, just go for it. So, they'll go roving all the day till the night time comes on. Very good. We've made a lot of progress there. We're on the fourth line already. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. Now, Droighnean Donn is a brown thorn bush. Down south, in their dialect, they'd say Droighnean Donn. Anyway, that's pronunciation for you. That's how it can change. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn, by the brown thorn bush. They've been sheltered. That's really stripping it back. You should definitely be able to get this. So, they've been sheltered. And all together. They've been sheltered. One more time. They've been sheltered. And shaded. And shaded. And all together. And shaded. One more time all together. And shaded. And we'll run the two parts of that together. They've been sheltered and shaded. And all together. They've been sheltered and shaded. And one more time. They've been sheltered and shaded. And then the last part of that is by the Droighnean Donn. Everybody together. By the Droighnean Donn. And then one more time. By the Droighnean Donn. So that is Droighnean Donn. That's just the way that I'd say it in my Irish. And you can change it accordingly for whatever area you're from in Ireland to fit your accent. If you're studying Irish, though, I'd pick the form of Irish that you know. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. And all together. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. One more time. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. Excellent job. So we'll try and put it all together with that very stripped back version. I might naturally change it slightly because I can't keep it exactly the same each time, but I'll sing it through and try and keep it as basic as possible, and you sing with me. So I'll sing it through all in one, and then we'll sing it through all in one together. Of late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man, and she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. They'll go rovin all the day till the night time comes on. They've been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. So that did change a wee bit, but you'll get the gist of it. You'll automatically put wee inflections stylized to yourself anyway, so it doesn't necessarily matter if you sing it exactly like the way I'm singing it, as long as you're getting the tune at its basic level. Whenever songs are very heavily ornamented and you want to learn them, it's hard to learn them because you're trying to listen out for the tune through the ornamentation, and the ornamentation is what makes the song every time it's sang. But it can be hard for the learner to pick up what the core tune is if they're not capable of those wee inflections that the singer does. I found it quite hard learning from a highly ornamented version of this song, so I went and got the core tune of it from another recording. But it's very, very simple once you get that core tune in any song. You will hear a lot of songs sang two ways. One by the singer who doesn't use a lot of ornamentation or can't ornament, not necessarily can't ornament, but hasn't learnt to ornament in a certain way, so it's very sparse and easier to pick up the tune. Whereas you'll have the opposite singer who heavily ornaments on the song, and the song's probably more memorable, but it's harder to remember what that tune was. So that's why we're breaking it down for you. We'll sing it again all together, from the top down to the bottom, and I'll strip it back as best I can for you, and you just have a blast with me. Of late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man, and she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. They'll go rovin all the day till the night time comes on. They been sheltered and shaded by the Droighnean Donn. Right, what we're going to do now is add in a bit more ornamentation and see how you go. This song is a really good example of a song that you can work a lot with. You can play around with it a lot in the same way you'll get, if you play music, you'll get certain tunes that you really enjoy because you can really bend notes and do wee rolls and things like that. So this is a great song for that. So once you're able to get the chord tune of it in your head, you're able to play around with it every time you sing it to make it a wee bit different each time and a bit more personal each time as well. Sometimes there's nothing more boring than whenever you're learning a song and you just want it in your head already, but that's what you have to do. You just have to suck it up and learn it. That's what we're going to do, and you've already come leaps and bounds. We're going to throw in a couple humdingers in. I would naturally sing "Oh, late." That's about 340 trills for you. How do you learn that? Now, part of it is natural, automatic. Part of it is just realising that if you're able to go "of late," you're able to go "of late" very simply by learning to do so. So you might not be able to do that now because your vocal cords are like, what are you trying to do to me whenever I can just about talk right? That's because you're using a muscle in a way that it doesn't normally get used. So of course it's going to be in a wee bit of a shock horror that you're trying to do funny things with it. But it is the simple fact of if you're able to go from a middle note to a high note to a low note very quickly, you just bend more with it. Instead of doing "of late," we will try "of late." Now what happened there? If you action replay, so we'll slow it down. "Of late" is actually just "of late, of late, of late." That's all it is. So just slow it down, slow your ornamentation down, and then get faster. Of late, oh, she's been captivated by her handsome young man, and she's daily complaining for her own darlin John. What did we just do? Well, to tell you the truth, I don't really know what we did, to be honest with you. Ornamentation is a very tricky thing to discuss, not necessarily to discuss, to teach. It's all about ear. You need to be able to hear each note, action replay it, slow it down. Oh, late. Think of it like chanting, church chanting. For this talk about section, we're going to talk about ornamentation more, and we're also going to touch on some archives. Modern ornamentation in English singing in Ireland derives very much from the traditional music community that sings in Irish. It comes from a form of singing known as seanlas singing, which is the Irish for old style. Sean meaning old and must mean style, seanlas. And that's all it is, old style singing. But seanlas singing in Irish is most typically heavily ornamented and is a phrase more commonly associated with the Irish language community and singing in the Irish language. But it can be used just as easily, although some people in that community don't necessarily like it, but it can definitely be used for certain singers and songs in English speaking side of the tradition. So there are great seanlas singers who sing in English, who sing really well in English, who ornament really well in a seanlas style in English. People like Rita Gallagher, people like Rian Connolly. So if you think of Joe Heaney, who I'm going to talk about again later, if a person turned around and said that this man, who is a shining example of seanlas singing, who came from an Irish speaking community, who grew up speaking Irish and sang songs in Irish, and who nobody can deny is a seanlas singer, you can't really very well turn around and say that the minute he sang in English, he wasn't, for the duration of that song, he wasn't being a seanlas singing anymore. You get seanlas singers in every language, not just Irish and English. Like if I think of the Greek singer, Soteria Ballou, great seanlas singer, great ornamentation, great everything. It can be applied outside that community, as many things can, as many words can. I have found that singers from Gaeltacht areas tend to still have that heavy ornamentation in their singing, particularly those in the southern part of the country tend to have a lot of flowing ornamentation, and I would say that that derives from their close connection to Gaeltacht areas. But that's not to say that ornamentation is devoid in other areas, far from it really, and that's not to say that if you don't know this form of singing you can't do it, and if you don't know this form of singing you can't ornament, because as we've talked about before, you can learn ornamentation. It's just a case of practicing and listening to good ornamentation. Seeing if you can replicate it, what you're listening to, and then using what you've learnt to then go on and do your own thing. And like I said, that's not to say that if you don't come from those areas you can't ornament heavily or you can't sing in that certain style. I got asked to do a singing workshop in Crossmaglen by my friend Blahin Buchanan, who's a great singer in Irish, and I did a workshop with, there was a good few young people there, and I'd never really examined myself in that way before, but they all turned around and told me that I ornamented a lot, and I don't come from anything that is remotely near Gaeltacht. Well, I'm from Tyrone originally, so by only association, by being a neighbour of Donegal, you can learn it easily. Maybe not easily, depending on what type of person you are. If you're committed, you can learn anything. And I would say that I've probably unconsciously, consciously, if that makes sense, trained myself to sing in that way. Like I mentioned in the previous lesson, where if I listen back to old recordings of myself, the ornamentation was very much not sparse but wrong. I would look at it now and say it's wrong, just not what I would expect, but that's only coming from a place where I am now, of being comfortable with my ornamentation and no more tricks and can do different wee things unconsciously and consciously, that whenever I look back on progress, which it's progress no matter what form it is, it looks bad, but really I was probably doing good for where I was at the time, and that's where you'll be if you haven't got any experience of ornamentation at all. So I said during the breakdown of the song about automatic ornamentation, and that only really comes by learning and practicing, and it changes from song to song. You'll be sick of hearing this by now, but it really does. You only get it by learning and practicing. Your voice puts wee things in without you really realising it, and I would say that that's probably the most truest form of ornamentation. You're not trying to do anything, it's just happening. And you'll hear a lot of singers say things like, I sing the same song different every time. Traditional singers will sing the same song different every single time. A good traditional singer will. And that's just because their feeling for natural ornamentation, for natural stop-starts, will differ every time. And that's what makes traditional singing with ornamentation so interesting, and what makes it so valuable as a form of culture. I was going to say commodity, but I think that tarnishes it. I think it's so valuable as a form of island culture. Now, ornamentation may be featured in the song, like the song The Blackbird, where ornamentation is a heavy part of the actual tune. So, on the fair summer's morning of soft recreation, I heard a fair maiden, a meek and great moon, a sighing and sobbing with sad lamentation, a saying, my blackbird most royal hath flown. My tears they do grieve me, reflections deceive me, and I am overburdened with sad misery. But if death it declines me, as true love inclines me, I will follow my blackbird wherever he goes. That is a very hardcore level of traditional singing. That is probably one of the hardest songs in the tradition to sing, because the ornamentation is built into the song. You cannot be a singer without ornamentation and sing that song, because it does not work at all. You can hear Paddy Tunney singing it, and Reedy Gallagher, and the ornamentations vary slightly, but the core ornamentations are in the exact same places, which means the ornamentation is not freestyle, it is part of the tune. So you will get songs like that, and Joe Heaney's phrase of "you shouldn't steal another man's ornamentation" doesn't apply to songs like that, where the ornamentation is built into the song. What he means is you shouldn't steal another man's natural automatic ornamentation, because that comes from your very core, and that's why it's different every time, because natural automatic ornamentation comes from that inside of you and applies to the song differently every time you sing it. Where some notes I'll favour more than others, and I'll always sing those the same in the context of this song. For the majority of the time I'll always sing "Oh, late," because that's the way I like to open that song. But there are other places where I will vary it all the time. You can try singing along with the song as a whole at the start of the video, but you should not copy my version exactly and then go out and sing it at a session somewhere, because that's what Joe Heaney refers to as stealing another man's ornamentation. It's the same as if you were to sing in another person's accent. It's exactly the same as that. You're singing in another person's ornamentation. Where we had Rule 101, this is Rule 101.2. Rule 101 was you should sing in your own accent. Rule 101.2 is you should sing with your own ornamentation and never sing with another person's ornamentation. Now, you might like the way certain people trill notes and things like that, but you shouldn't copy them verbatim, because that's what you're doing. You're copying and you're not putting anything else into it. So it's very important that, yes, of course, you should use that video at the start to sing along and practice too, but whenever you go out into the wide world to sing these songs, or even whenever you're sitting in your living room or sitting in your bedroom singing the songs to yourself, you should play around with them and put yourself into them, because that is what traditional singing is. It is the singer putting themselves into the song just as much as the song is being put into the singer. You'll hear singers say that I'm simply a vessel for these songs. to a certain extent I would say that song sometimes is a vessel for the singer, you know. Yeah, that was quite hardcore. Anyway, I would say that you need to sing a song twice at the very least to be able to get any good out of it, and by that I mean you've learnt it through, so you know all the words, and you sing it once through to yourself and you're just sort of starting, then you sing it through to yourself again and you figure out more stuff to do with it. So the more that you sing a song, the more you'll be able to comfortably fit in ornamentation that's part of the song and automatic ornamentation that you've put in yourself, your own ornamentation. I've seen me recording songs and I haven't sang it that much, and I've taken it down later because I've found out that that's not the way that I should be singing it. It sounds far better the way that I sing it now, and I might re-record it and put it up again, but most of the times I definitely just take the recording down and it's like, what are you doing there? And that's because you need to sing the song through a couple of times to be able to get any good out of it. That's what I mean by that. And if you do something like that where you record it whenever you first learnt it and you're singing it through and you go back and listen to it again, you'll really notice that, what I mean by that. So I said about the Blackbird song, and I sang through a bit of it. What we're doing is level 10 stuff. What the Blackbird is probably level 50. And it's level 50 because it's so heavily ornamented, built into the song, and you have to get that ornamentation right to be able to sing the song properly. By other singers, it will be noticed if you don't sing it right. But there is an excellent song to practice ornamentation, and it is Lovely Annie. And it is fantastic. Paddy Tunney sings it, and I'll link that video of him singing it. So basically it trills all the way from low to high and then trills all the way from high to low again, like a bird, going up and going down. So I'll sing part of it here and you can hear the rest at the link. As I went a walking one morning in May, I spied lovely Annie a-making her hay. And as I went from her, the grass was her bed. Through a gap in the bushes, my darlin I spied. If you get that, oh, it's fantastic. It really is fantastic. So jot that down. I would sing that a couple of times for sort of vocal ornamentation warm-up for yourself. Just sing it through. So this is a book, J.R.R. Tolkien's biography by Humphrey Carter. And whenever J.R.R. Tolkien was first starting out writing, he started writing poetry. And says, when Tolkien showed this and other poems to Wiseman, his friend remarked that they reminded him of Symonds' criticism of Meredith, when he compared Meredith to a lady who liked to put on all her jewellery after breakfast, and Wiseman advised, don't overdo it. So, I also want to spend some time talking about the importance of song archives, some of the places that I get songs from. You probably already know about them already, but you might find some quality ones in between. I touched on the Peter Kennedy archive last week, which was brilliant. Hopefully some of you checked that out because it really is a brilliant resource. And the British Library sound recordings that you can hear as well. I just remembered Bridget Tunney singing the fragment of Captain Coulson. It's one of those recordings that sticks in your head, even though she doesn't sing the full version of it. Just brilliant singer. Yeah, so we touched on the Peter Kennedy archive. That's just one. There really is an embarrassment of riches whenever it comes to song archives, and I find myself coming across all these new gold mines every time I do research project, if it isn't to do songs, to do something else. And we're very fortunate to live in this age of the internet, especially during this time, so that we can do things like this lesson. So the first one that I want to talk about is Kieran Kelly's Facebook page. I became friends with Kieran Kelly a couple of years back. Met him twice. Met him in Tesco's one time in Cookstown, and then I saw him at Droighnean in Belfast at the Droighnean Donn and maiden. They were singing there, and he's great. He's a great fellow altogether. Fantastic box player, but also really committed to what I will call the Kieran Kelly archive. If nobody else is calling it that, I'm going to call it the Kieran Kelly archive. So what he does is he digitises old VHS recordings of traditional music shows that went out donkeys ago, and there are some amazing things there. And he's really smart because he'll tag people in it that's to do with what the video is to do with. So if it's a fiddle player, he'll tag fiddle players. If it's a flute player, he'll tag flute players. If it's a singer, he'll tag singers. And loads of people find it that way. And the videos are always amazing. There's not one bad one in them. I love hooking through the singers in it. And sometimes he's tagged me in some great ones. I equally find myself watching the flute players and the fiddle players and just being amazed by the quality of the recording and the quality of the sound, and just the fact that we have it whenever you wouldn't necessarily think that you would have it. He really is a brilliant person for doing that, and I don't think that we could thank him enough for it, for the amount of work that he's put into sorting everything out. Top it all off, he's a great box player, so can't really fault him, and he's also a great photographer, so really can't fault him. I would really suggest, if you have Facebook, to look up Kieran Kelly, send him a wee friend request. As long as your Facebook page isn't a bit ropey, I'm sure he'll accept you if he can, and have a look at some of those videos because they really are absolutely brilliant. I think he has a YouTube page as well, so check that out. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the ITMA and TB. Now, you might already know about these. ITMA is pretty standard for people wanting to look up things to do with traditional music, and it's the Irish Traditional Music Archive, and it as well is an embarrassment of riches: photographs, recordings, digitised pamphlets, just really good resource for all forms of musicians, in a show and song project as well as an extension of that. It really is without limit. You hear some great singers on that. Annie Hurl, that's how you pronounce her surname, Annie Hurl, singing things like Tinker's Potsheen and Masterrock and the Glen. Just really great northern singers singing northern songs and Ulster style, and really is great. So I would check out their Traditional Music Archive, and by extension I would check out In Show and Song Project through that as well, which you can find through their website page. TD stands for Tubber and Dulcus, which is, I would say, the Scottish equivalent of the Irish Traditional Music Archive. I believe it's part organised through the Scottish School of Studies, which is a great folklore collection. Tubber and Dulcus, or its Scots names Kiss the Riches, is an absolutely fantastic archive if you want to hear Scots singers, Gaelic singers who are singing in the Gaelic language of Scotland, which is Scots Gaelic. I've found some absolutely class stuff on Tubber and Dulcus, which I will be linking later on in later lessons, which are really to die for. Like, will kill you over. They're that amazing. Really, really great. I would have a look at it if I was you, and I've linked it in the references. Tubber and Dulcus. You open it up and there is Julie Fowlis and Chris Wright having a wee sing-song together. They were artists in residence for the project. So there we go. The website contains oral recordings made in Scotland and further afield from the 1930s onwards. The number of recordings online is now approaching 50,000. The items you can listen to include stories, songs, music, poetry and factual information. And we even have a wee lucky dip. We have Habua eran ishkivaha, ishkivaha. Habua eran ishkivaha. A humorous song about the efficacy. A humorous song about the efficacy of whiskey. I'm not going to lie, I don't know if that's the right way that you say that word, efficacy. Is it the same as efficiency? I don't know. I just know that Habua eran ishkivaha is a song about whiskey, recorded in 1971. Leaving the best to last, I feel anyway, or one of the best archives to last, Droighnean.org, Droighnean Archive, which is absolutely amazing. Put together by University of Galway, the Irish Research Council and University of Washington, I believe. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Really, really amazing stuff. It is an archive of loads of recordings and transcripts of recordings of Droighnean. Singing, talking, chatting, lilting, telling stories in Irish and in English, And most of the time whenever he does something in Irish, there is an English translation of it as well. Either he'll tell you the English translation, or the people on the website have put a translation of what the lyrics mean. Joe Heaney is one of the best Sean singers that you can ever hear. Really, really, truly is. And that's just because of his sense for the song, and he knows what he's talking about whenever it comes to songs as well. They're the best things I've ever heard, and I love dipping in and out of it, as I really do get a lot from Joe Heaney singing. I'll end with this. You'll understand why I get so much whenever you hear this. So this is a small snippet of a recording made by Joe Heaney, and it was made in 1981 in Australia.
I think I'll sing the whole thing English and Irish. Oh, the doubt and knocking the ditch down. Oh, the doubt and knocking the ditch down. Oh, the doubt and knocking the ditch down. Nobody only call. Oh, call the dear to come any near me. Call the dear to come any near me. Call the dear to come any near me. Maybe I shouldn't just call. When anybody here who fancies himself with the chorus, help me.
So you can understand why I like Joe Heaney singing so much. Very reminiscent of Dàibhidh Stiùbhard, who's a great Sean singer and great hero of mine. I know he's a great hero of the singer Rushing White as well, but really great stuff, and great wee ender for this section of the talk about. We'll just run through very quickly the references which we've got attached to this lesson. So for our further reading, we've got Us in Hackney, the oral tradition of storytelling, curing the contemporary culture crisis, and just talks about telling tales in the written word. So the oral tradition of storytelling and the wisdom tradition, oral storytelling and knowledge transmission, oral storytelling, group identity and community cohesion. So wee things like that article are a good wee information mine, really. Then we have, for the further reading, the Bodleian Ballad Library. So I've included some more archives links, not just the ones that I talked about. Brilliant archive. Broadside Ballads Online presents a digital collection of English printed ballad sheets from between the 16th and 20th century, linked to other resources for the study of the English ballad tradition. Now it says English might lead you to believe that they are songs just from the tradition in England, but there are also some great examples of songs from the Irish tradition and other traditions. So if I type in the Blackbird, which was that heavily complicated level 50 ornamented song that we were looking at, there it is. Their ballad work round number 2375. We'll click on that, and then you have this scan. Not an amazing scan of it, but a worthy scan nonetheless. You can find some great stuff through this. Broadside ballad sheets were what people used to sell on street corners. You used to have ballad sellers singing with a big roll of printed sheets of ballads that sing the songs. So they would have, take this for example, they would have sang The Dying Soldier and The Royal Blackbird. You sing it and somebody comes up and goes, oh, I want to learn that. So they pay them a penny, they give them their broadsheet ballad, and they go home and learn that song then. The next reference I've got here is for further watching, and it's the RTE Archives Oral Tradition of Folk Songs, and it's a video, and it's from 1973. A double man is travelling Ireland collecting songs with the aim of having them passed on to future generations. And it is what it says in the tin. So people like this man helped build archives. 8 minutes long, part of a longer programme, and very much worth checking out. So for our further listening, we have a Facebook link, and it is Rose Fox singing One Evening in the Summertime. Really, really great recording, and it is part of that Kieran Kelly archive that I was talking about earlier. It was recorded as part of a FLA programme. It's a really nice recording, really lovely singing, and great example of southern ornamentation. We also have Paddy Tunney, that song Lovely Annie, a link to that. I've put in as well Mary Dillon singing Benedy Glen, This is probably one of my favourite songs to sing, and I love her version. I learnt to sing it from her, and it really is a great, great song, and she's a great singer singing it, and I love it. Droighnean Donn, so that's the Irish version of the song that you just learnt during this lesson. So on the other, we've got a link to the Irish Traditional Music Archive, a link to the Tubber and Dulcus Kista Riches Archive, a link to Kieran Kelly's Facebook page, a link to the School of Scottish Studies, a link to the Droighnean website. I've also got a link to Cecil Sharp, his notebooks, and to top it all off, we've got a link to the Alan Lomax archive, which has some brilliant recordings on it as well, and you can find a link for the Peter Kennedy archive in the previous lesson. So an abundance of stuff for you to delve into there and get lost on your way, and just let yourselves get lost, because it really is an embarrassment of riches and great fun to spend a Sunday afternoon just waging through these archives, finding stuff and stumbling across stuff that you maybe never would have heard before, and learning new songs through it. So this is the wee section now at the very end where I just pull a couple of things from my own personal archive, just things that I like and that inspire me and I think about whenever I think about traditional singing. Our first thing is this. This is By the Banks of the Main, a recording of John Candy, and I got this through Mairead Walls, who's a great singer, and it's a CD of his recordings. There's 19 recordings on it in total, and it's a mixture of his flute playing and also his singing. John Candy's a great man. It's a really great wee booklet inside it as well, and it was compiled by Lawrence Holden. He's done a great job on it. Great introduction in it, and then a breakdown of different things that he's talking about and the songs that he's singing. Then we also have pictures of broadside ballad sheets that I was talking about earlier. So that's one for the Sour Milk Cart, which is getting a bit of a surgence in traditional singing in the north here at the minute. Loads of people singing it. Mairead Walls sings a great version of it. And then we have Highland Mary. So there's really great photographs in this wee booklet. This booklet's nearly good enough to have by itself, paired with the recordings. It's a great package. Great photo of the man himself playing on the 12th with a couple of men with lambegs, big lambeg drums. John Candy and Hughie Surgeon are fifing with Tully Grawley and Ballymena, 12th of July 1948. The drummers are Harry and Rab Cochran. I definitely recommend having a look out for that. So the next thing that I have is a translation of the Táin Bó Cúailnge by Thomas Kinsella, and it has Louis Le Brochet illustrations in it, which are amazing. It's one of those books that I've found myself highlighting different parts. Really good poetry extrapolations as well and translations. So you have a border made of red gold matched his handsome crimson cloak, a soft multitude of jewels, and the satin tunic itself a jewel, for decoration all told 50 ounces of light gold. And then wee phrases like, grief is heavier than the sea. I just find it really inspiring whenever it comes to lyric writing, things like that, because it makes me think of older forms of bardic writing, which is the Táin Bó Cúailnge stems from bardic writing, or should I say bardic oral tradition that was then written down by monks hundreds of years later. It harks back to things like the Elder Saga and ancient Greek civilization, but great Louis Le Brochet illustrations in it as well. There's one in particular which covers 2 pages, which evokes the fight between the men of Ulster and Queen Maeve's armies, which is this. And it's just an absolute mass of men on a field, and you get that. And if anybody doesn't know what the Táin Bó Cúailnge is about, it's about the cattle raid of Cooley. Queen Maeve and King Ailill, they're in bed one night and they start comparing everything that they have. King Ailill ends up by saying, I have one thing more than you, basically. I've got a bright white bull. Queen Maeve was raging, as you would be, because you don't want to be one-upped by your husband. So she asked for land of the brown bull from the north, and one thing led to another. They didn't give it. They basically took the bull then, and it talks about Cuchulainn and Ferdia, a song called Kin of Cuchulainn, which was a song in praise of the Irish language in the Nachna Anish movement, and it stemmed out of reading An Táin Bó Cúailnge by Thomas Kinsella. I also got another thing If anybody's learning Irish, this is a great resource, and it's an Tá Buchaine. It's a graphic novel agus is a scéalaige agus is jazz is tríocht fásta. It is by Colman O'Rahilly, Barry Reynolds, the Cartoon Saloon, and you can get that from An Chapeleur. You can also get my album Seanach Do from Chapeleur, by the way, which is great. So if you're getting one, you can get the other and just make yourself a wee nest and sit down and listen to An Seanach Do while you're perusing An Tá Buchaine a scéalaige. So you can have a wee listen to me singing Urkel and Cregan, and then look and see what Hugh Cullen's doing and Maeve. But really great illustrations in this. Simple phrases that with the help of a dictionary you can translate. A great pairing would be this An Tá Buchaine and this An Tá Buchaine by Thomas Kinsella with Louis Le Brocquy. Every person on this island should really read this. It features Cú Chulainn heavily, who's considered a hero by Unionist and Republican communities, but it's a great read. The next thing I have is a bit of a different thing. It is a Taschen Bibliotheca Universalis book, and it is a photography book that I picked up. I think I seen some of these for the first time in 2016 in Florence at the Photography Institute there. Whenever I was photographer at university, we went to Florence and there were some of these photographs, and I just remember the bright Italian sun coming through the window and landing on these pictures, and it was just mesmerising because they too, a bit like Tá Buchaine, hark back to days which are, if not past, very different. And it is Edward S. Curtis's photographs of the Northern American Indian, the complete portfolios. This is it. It's not expensive. It's a great coffee table book and a great eye-opener book, I would say, more than anything else. Photographs in it are stunning. They really are. And I find myself just flicking through it every now and again just to see what I didn't see before. All the different Native American tribes are in it. There are wee red bits, and each red part breaks up into different portfolios. So it starts with the Apaches and Navajo people. And great photograph. So you can learn a lot by stuff like this. I have learned a lot through photography about my own culture and things like that, and about the cultures of others. So great book, not that expensive, so definitely have a look out for that. The next thing I have here, I picked up whenever I was in Scotland visiting my brother and his wife. It is the complete poems and songs of Robbie Burns. It is absolutely massive and indisputable tome of songs. Great for people in the north who love that Scottish side of their heritage. Great for people in the north anyway, because we do sing a lot of Robbie Burns songs as part of the tradition, and they are great songs. It's got a breakdown of Scots words, what different words mean, like swirly, full of twists or knots, tack, Elise, Holden, farm, tacket, a hobnail. And then we have an index of titles, and for some of them they have the airs on top of them that you can sing to, but it's sometimes fun to put your own airs to things like this. So to end this section, I've got a wee fun one, and it's another vinyl record like the way I ended the last one, and it is this, The Dubliners, A Drop of the Hard Stuff. Great photograph, as all photographs were then. And it has side 1, 7 Drunken Nights, The Galway Races, The Old Alarm Clock, Colonel Fraser and O'Rourke's Reel, The Rising of the Moon, McCafferty, I'm a Rover, side 2, Wheela Walla, The Travelling People, Limerick Rake, Zoological Gardens, The Fairmoy Lasses and Sporting Paddy, Black Velvet Band and Paddy and the Railway. Just a wee fun one to end. I don't really look to the Dubliners for a lot of stuff to do with traditional singing, but they're still great for what they are, and I just listen to them for a bit of light relief now and again. So that brings an end to this lesson. Hopefully you enjoyed this as much as the previous lesson. I definitely enjoyed making it. It's a bit more complicated, this one, and a bit more intimate compared to the previous one, as this one dealt more with a more complicated topic, and it will fluctuate level wise, but I think it's very important that you should get songs of all levels and all capabilities, because you are people of all levels and all capabilities, and it's fun to challenge yourself sometimes. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Once again, very grateful to the people at Gasyard Fila for sponsoring this episode and the next two. Yeah, don't forget to like and comment underneath this. Tell me how you're getting on. You can also share the videos with like-minded people who you think might enjoy it. And if you would like a copy of the lyrics and references, private message me and leave me your email address, and I will get on to that as soon as possible. I'll send you a PDF of the lyrics and everything with that. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Right, we're going to add, we're going to add in more ornamentation now. That was very false, wasn't it? Right. So, that is how many note changes I have done through ornamentation. Try and get that high note as best you can. Droighnean Donn means the blackthorn bush. It's like a blackthorn bush. Just better make sure of that actually. And Droighnean Donn. How do you teach that? Oh, fleet. What am I doing apart from moving my shoulder every now and again, which you can't help doing? That's just ornamenter's tick. We've also got a link to Cecil Wild Dry Daughter. Go for another lucky dip. That's wild. Look at all the dust flying about now.